what's wrong with Pyro? What is wrong with Pyro is the real question. Okay. Like what needs to be fixed, what needs to be tweaked, all that general stuff. You know, what's wrong with Pyro? First things first, I think that Pyro, as of right now, is not overpowered. I am taking the side of he's extremely underpowered. And here's my reason. The Pyro as a class, I mean, outside of, you know, doing what I'm doing right now, does not get picks. That like took forever for those flame particles to register. He doesn't get a lot of crits, so he doesn't get a lot of kills. You know, if I'm going to switch off of this loadout here, something I'm doing today, I want to kind of a change up here. See what else we can work with the degreaser, for instance. Yeah, that's all I want. Like, the degreaser does not do a lot of damage. He's a utility class because of, you know, this wonderful thing known as air blast. You know, I can just sit back here and do nothing. You know, almost do nothing, and, you know, not so nothing, but just, he's just extremely a support role, which I think that's what the Pyro, I think, fits very, very well as kind of a support class. He's not really a carry class, he's not really a damage class, he really shouldn't be. I think that, you know, the Pyro is he's a supporting class. He shouldn't not necessarily, like, he's like, if you were to use the more accepted now, like the game has been out for a while and people tend to talk about, you know, the new roles for how people actually play. And that being the whole new system of, instead of being attacked, instead of having the offense, defense, support classes, it's the soldier, or you have pick, combo, and support, I want to say is what it's set up to be. That's a triangle. And what it ends up being is you have your Pyro, it's soldier, or no, sorry, hold on, let me think here. For your pick classes, you have scout, sniper, and spy, and then soldier overlaps with this pick and power class. And power classes, you have demo and heavy, and then you have a Pyro, which crosses over between the two of those into support, and then you have your medic and engineer, or your support classes. And if I missed one, I'm sorry. I don't think I did, but that'd be how it would be. That's how it's set up. I'll have probably an image on screen for that. Which is how I think where Pyro's role actually does fit very, very well, is especially seeing the current setup of how the game is balanced and how Pyro is balanced and all these different things. And not necessarily saying that the Pyro is balanced in any way. I do think he's very underpowered, underwhelming. They did kind of take his only thing he had going for him, which was the old school, use the extinguisher and you had the crit, or not the crit, but the, you know, flame punching, stuff along those lines. You know, it wasn't, that was, you know, back, Pyro was a combo class, or not a combo class, but he did combos to get kills. And that's what made him very, very versatile in a lot of different roles, because he can just be like, yeah, I'm gonna be, you know, a spy, or not, I'm gonna be a Pyro that hangs out with a combo, and that's my job. I hang out with the combo, I spy check, and make sure no one, you know, no spies are, you know, up in my combo's drill space. And that's one way you can play Pyro, and that's completely fine. That's a really good way to be, you know, a valued member on your team. I saw that sniper had a teleporter dodge, but I don't know where he got it from. Anyway. That passed. And that's one way you could have played Pyro. And, like, another way back in the day was you were running around and you killed people. Or not so much killed people, you killed people that got close to you, and it was not the person's fault. And then people said, oh, Pyro's OP. You know, he can kill a soldier or a heavy in 4 or 5 shots. Or, you know, less than that. I mean, he can kill a heavy in 2, and, you know, really less than anything. And that's, people were upset about that, justifiably. When a Pyro can rush on a heavy and kill him in like 2 hits, yeah. That's scary for a heavy player, granted, that's very, very scary. So I can see why some people were upset about it. But at the same time, you know, That's all Pyro had. And now you look at Pyro now, and Pyro, you know, he's lost that. Pyro doesn't have, you know, the old school combo that he used to, which made him a viable class in more situations than just, you know, a very, very support heavy role. He lost that when you know, they nerfed the when they nerfed the extinguisher. He never really had anything going for him past the extinguisher being, you know, 195 if they're on fire from any side. And now it's like 160, something like that. It's not like you really had the opportunity to be something good and something that's, you know, a powerful thing to watch out for on the battlefield. And granted, Pyro in the right hands can be that way. He was a lot scarier before. And now that being my reasoning, why I think Pyro's underpowered, lately he's just been, you know, nerfed upon nerfed upon nerfed upon nerfed upon nerfed. Or the one random buff to the Flawed, which people are saying it's time for Pyro to be out of the spotlight because they messed up with that. That's kind of bull in my eyes, because it was a stupid change, a bad change, and then people are saying, well, now that Pyro's had his time in the spotlight, it's time for, you know, someone else to be in the spotlight, like Heavy. That's the whole argument with the Heavy v Pyro war. And I always strongly disagreed. I said, no, Heavy as a class can fill many roles. He's good at many roles. He is good now. He doesn't... Yeah, I'd like to see Heavy get new weapons, a new playstyle, something like that. I'd love to see that. But at the same time, Heavy already has one. And you can't say that just because, you know, Pyro has, or, you know, Heavy has, you know, there's a one meta loadout. Yes, so does every other class across the whole game. There's not one class or one set of, you know, one thing that is not, you know, hey, you know, you run this because this. You know, that's not a thing that you just see anymore. So, I mean, if you were to look at that for a prime example, look at Roamer and Pocket loadouts for competitive 6v6. Roamers typically run stock gunboats and either escape plan or market gardener depending on their personal preference. Pockets, instead of the gunboats, use the shotgun. Fair enough. You know, you can't really say anything. Something like that where it's like, oh yeah, well, Soldier needs a new, I mean, if you use arguments, Soldier needs a new playstyle, and, you know, Engine needs a new playstyle, and, you know, everything needs a new playstyle with that logic, but that's not going to happen. But when it comes to Pyro, though, he doesn't have something where he's, like, in a super good position to actually do this stuff. So for Pyro, it's really, really difficult to actually get in. I'm sorry if there's going to be this weird period where we're on the main menu for a little bit of time. I have, you know, I can't control, I can't sit on the server anymore. Those are the good old days that passed. But Pyro is underpowered. Or not so underpowered, but he's overpowered, underpowered, imbalanced, balanced. He's a hodgepodge of emotions and problems that have been, you know, lying since the very beginning of TF2. Pyro has been always the shit eater of every single other class across the board. Everyone said Pyro is the problem, Pyro's the problem. You know, Soldier mains would be like, oh, I'm upset that a Pyro can reflect my rockets and kill me. Well, get good. That's all I can say to a soldier that says that is get good. It's not my fault that this is the only way to make my class not terrible. Because back when the game first released, when the game first dropped, Pyro didn't have Air Blast. He had no way to counter that. He was the worst class in TF2, just flat out, because he had no way to deal with soldiers, to demos, to knock people around. He just did a minimal damage, or, you know, he did about half the damage of a soldier, half the damage of a scout, and I mean, that was that. He didn't do anything more than that. He didn't fill a role. He just was not worth having. And that's where it comes into play that Pyro should really need a buff. And maybe not a buff. Maybe buff isn't the right word for it. Pyro needs to be completely overhauled. And what do you mean by overhaul? I don't mean... I don't...
Open your window, it's hot.
Yes, I know, thank you.
Open it up. It's stinky, too.
Sorry about that interruption. Oh, here we are, people swearing. To quickly mute everyone again. Anyways, like I was saying though, Pyro doesn't need to be buffed or nerfed or anything like that. I really truly believe Pyro needs to have a total overhaul done, and that's scrap what we have. Not so much scrap what we have. Keep the weapons. You know, don't get rid of weapons. Don't add weapons. Let's fix Pyro. Then we'll fix the weapons. Don't try to do it all at once. Otherwise, we're going to lead ourselves into problems later on down the road, which are just not going to help us. I think we can all agree on that one, that it's not the weapons that are the problem. It's the class as a whole that's the problem. And it's just how the class is set up, it's inherently how he plays. All of these different things, it's just that's what happens. There's no way you can just say, oh, well, Pyro's supposed to be WM1, that's his whole thing, he's supposed to light people on fire. No. That's not how it works anymore. Maybe when the game started, and that's what Pyro was for, it was supposed to be, you know, maybe an easier way to segue into the game, through projectiles and particles and stuff like that. Really, you know, it's a really wonky thing to think about, but, you know, maybe Pyro was built that way. Maybe it was originally intended to be that way. But as soon as they added the extinguisher, where it was, oh yeah, you switch this weapon and you kill people if they're on fire. You know, it was, okay, so someone's on fire, I'll do more damage if they're on fire. And then they added and then the Dericer was released. Faster switch speed, more comboing. It became a combo class. Not like a combo as in playing on Arc with a group of other people, but combo as in he did things in an order to kill you. And then people said he was overpowered, and like I said, I already went through this whole thing. And then I say to fix Pyro, it's to change Pyro as a class. Maybe not necessarily strap certain things, but definitely to really, you know, rework how some of his mechanics work. For instance, when it comes down to the class, as a most basic level, like I said, the Pyro should be a comboing class. He should, you know, use a combination of weapons to deal the damage that he wants to deal, to eliminate the foes that are in front of him. And I think that should be changed by doing a few things. I do think that the Pyro's move speed should be increased. Maybe make the Power Jack do something else that's unique. Bring back the old way if you gotta kill, you know, like a ton of health back. Maybe that'd be a nice feature to come back. Bring back Hammer Time, presumably. So, make the Power Jack not have the move speed anymore. That's a weapon change. I said he shouldn't do that, but what I mean is, give a Pyro a move speed bonus. Maybe make him move a little bit, maybe not as fast as with the Power Jack, you know, like this speed, maybe a little bit faster than this speed. Maybe medic speed. I think it's 110%. I think that'd be that's just a good number to toss there, just for the sake of argument. That the Pyro could go with a move speed bonus to help him catch up with his more speedy foes, things like scouts, soldiers, demos. I think Air Blast, there are source mods out there too that rework how Air Blast as a mechanic works to make it so it doesn't do weird things. I do agree that the Pyro's Air Blast is a bit strange, and sometimes, but you know, there's nothing you can do about something that's really, really wonky. It's an old setup, it's an old game, things like that. Maybe it's unfixable for a huge update, but maybe it is fixable. Maybe they can actually fully rehaul how reflecting projectiles works. And that would be probably one of the bigger things. I'd say, hey, can we fix this? You know, is that possible to be fixed? If it's not possible to be fixed, what can we do to try to compensate for it? Because if you know, the game's engine is just so spaghetti coded and it's just going to break the game if we want to do it, that's completely okay. We can work with it. It's not horribly imbalanced. It doesn't do anything, you know, it's not like you reflect and always, you know, guaranteed things. It doesn't happen. It might just do really wonky things for a little bit of time, which is, hey, maybe that's just how the game's, you know, natural feel is. Cool beans. Like I said, move speed bonus. Maybe rate the Power Jack do something else or something along those lines. Otherwise, give the Pyro a move speed bonus. So he moves a little bit faster than 100% speed. So maybe it's 110% speed, like similar to the Medic. You know, so maybe that's how fast the Pyro moves. You know, hey, that's that. You know, Pyro, say, now Pyro is, you know, in a really good position. Maybe he moves faster, he can catch up with people, he can try to help, you know, deal with those pesky lay Frenchmen who are very, very prominent on the battlefield, it seems, these days. So, maybe that's going to be, you know, one thing. Give him boobs bonus, let him catch up to people, let him do damage better. You know, the general basic things like that. Next thing. Rework his health. I think if you're going to give the Pyro a little bit more health, which gives him a little bit, makes him a little bit harder to hit, I do think that there should be a health change. Not necessarily an upward value. Maybe you go down to 150 health, similar to that of the Demoman with the Islander. So he's no longer matching the Demoman's standard HP at 175. So about where I'm playing right now. It makes him a little bit more squishy than he already is, but he moves a little bit faster, which I think could compensate that. Of course, those are just numbers tossed around. Maybe that isn't fast enough to justify the move speed, but all those things I think should be taken into account and thoroughly discussed before anything is acted on. Maybe thoroughly even tested at that point. And the last thing, give him a upgraded switch speed. Now most classes now have a I want to say it's a 1 second, or it's, I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head. I know they recently changed it compared to what it used to be for the speed of weapon change, which I think was a good thing to see that happen. I think that was a really good thing to see, you know, for all across the board, everyone got new weapon speeds. That's what it's supposed to be for this. And, you know, maybe that was maybe the right way to go about it, which is cool beans. And I would say give him a bonus weapon switch speed to encourage the playstyle of crit comboing and bring crit comboing back. I think that's going to be the beneficial thing that's going to make Pyro a decent class once more. Really rework how he plays. You know, he before all the, you know, the changes to Pyro, Pyro was a crit combo class. He dealt crits to you if you got in his AoE. And that's how you died to Pyros. You didn't die to Pyros for WM1ing or whatever. Pyro got you for being out of position at a bad time with low health, or you just got into his very, very small area of effect. If you were to look at something, for instance, like the Soldier's AoE, oh god, my mouse died. Soldier's AoE is not something that's very, very small. You may think, oh, you know, the Soldier's AoE, it's, you know, as big as his rockets, you know, the area around his rockets. And maybe that's how it is, and that's good. But you also have to realize the Soldier has a really huge movement ability. He can rocket jump. He can migrate himself across the map at a moment's notice to deal with the enemy team, and especially do a huge amount of splash damage in the process. General things like that give him a huge uphill advantage on classes like the Stout, for instance, where the Stout has to run the whole distance across the map to actually go and, you know, go kill someone. Or the Soldier can be there in a couple of rocket jumps. Pyro doesn't have that. Pyro doesn't have an extremely good movement ability. All he has, like I said, is the Power Deck, which gives you 15% faster move speed, so he moves a little bit faster than the Medic. Which is good and dandy. But, you know, he doesn't have the ability to close the distance on people, and he doesn't have the ability to... And once he closes the distance, he has no way to really deal with them. So he just kind of gets there, does a decent amount of damage, and maybe you die, maybe he dies, and the fight's over. I do like the change they recently did with the Pyro, with Fire, making it have a reduced heal rate. I think that was a step in the right direction for once, when it comes to playing Pyro, and working with Pyro and trying to figure out what... Sorry. It's been a while since I've done a quick fix Super as Pyro. Can't knock people back. I think that was one of the steps in the right direction, especially to make him more support class. Which, if they're going to make him more of a support class, then yeah, he should become more of a support class. You know, I don't know what they could do for weapons. I don't have any ideas for that. I've always kind of been like, Pyro should become more of a power class. You know, less of a support class, more of a power class. Because he does do damage, and I think that he should be able to do damage once again. Because I remember back when I was first starting in this game, it was, oh no, a Pyro killed me by, you know, flaring me and then extinguishing me, and then I was dead. Learn to kill a Pyro faster. That's what it was. It wasn't, oh, I'm upset and I want it nerfed because I can't handle it. No, you learn to deal with it. And it was relatively simple. You engage Pyro at a distance. You know, you never engaged a Pyro at short range. You always engaged him at a medium range. Because that flame damage he can just put out onto you in a moment's notice was ridiculous. And that's what he did. So, all of that being said, those are my own personal opinions. I'm not an expert in the field. I don't know how the game's set. I don't know how the game's set up. I've read lots of other posts about, you know, what they should do to change Pyro, to make him better, to make him worse, you know, nerf or buff Pyro. But I do really think what needs to happen is, instead of a nerf here or a buff there, it needs to become a, we are taking Pyro and we are reworking him. We are going to figure out, you know, what went wrong, what did we change too much of, what didn't we change enough of, you know, the typical stuff like that, to figure out what's actually going on. So with that being said, thank you everyone so much for watching. I know this was a long video, heavily opinionated too. Kind of a discussion video. I tried to stay not heated about it. But like I said, that being said, thank you all so much for watching. If you liked the video, please be sure to put a like down in the description. Otherwise, I will see you guys all in the next video, which will be sometime next week. So, take it easy, fellas.